Hey everybody, happy Monday. Hope you had a good weekend and enjoyed the weather outside. It was really, really beautiful. Hey, do miss seeing you guys and getting out and just enjoying everybody's company. And it's kind of weird being at home. And anyway, just, kind of like being at school, which is weird to say, I guess, right? We took a test 2 Fridays ago now. Not last Friday. I asked you to get all your late stuff in and all your makeup stuff in, but we took a test 2 Fridays ago on bacteria and viruses. And then we get a little bit bigger. Now, this is the unit that Mr. Olson and I kind of like, and the kids all in seventh grade like super look forward to it. So I feel a little bit bad because you guys get you kind of miss out on this. So we call this the body systems unit, and the way Mr. Olson and I did it for many years is we compared our systems in our body to other animals. And those could be animals with a backbone, but they might also be animals without a backbone. And these are where we, did the dissections and looked inside of other animals, which I know like a lot of kids have questions on when they're in seventh grade. Do we dissect anything? And typically we dissect at this time of year an earthworm, and we dissect a squid, and we also dissect a frog. But obviously that's not really happening. And to be completely honest with you, virtual dissections just are not the same thing. There is no way, I guess, I can describe how it feels to cut into something like flesh. It's not paper. And just like clicking buttons and opening up does not like give you the technique for cutting through things like skin and muscle tissue. And there's a definite technique in it, and it takes a little feeling. And you probably would sit in your lab with your partners and struggle at cutting through this stuff, and you might call me over and I might snip through it like nobody's business, like it's not a big deal. But it's just because I've done it so many times. And this is the only time, this and in 10th grade is the only time when some students get the ability to do that. It really is kind of cool, and I will say that you know dissecting in anatomy and physiology and stuff in college. Anyway, that kind of that kind of learned stuff is the only way that these doctors and surgeons get to do what they are able to do for us now. And obviously, those people are in high demand, and people are realizing how much of a value our doctors and nurses and healthcare professionals are at this moment. And anyway, they've all done that stuff. So I feel bad that in seventh grade you guys won't be able to. I do want to still cover body systems. They are grad standards for seventh graders, and these are some of the goals that you'll get by the time you are done with these notes. And these notes can be found on Google Classroom. I want you to understand something called homeostasis. That's number one right here. We haven't talked about that yet. We will. And in fact, that's slide number 3. So if there's a star on your slide, you can look for them. It probably goes over one of these goals, and it's telling you that you should probably know that for sure. Number 2 says know the differences between tissues, and that's not what you're blowing your nose with. Organs and organ systems. Number 3 says label the parts of a neuron and know how the nervous system works. Number 4 says know the difference between an artery, vein, and a capillary. Those things all carry blood inside of your body. They're known as blood vessels. And number 5, a diagram. You should be able to draw the circulation through the chambers of the heart. I'll walk you through that and do that with you on a Jamboard probably. Number 6, label the 5 parts of the respiratory system. Respiratory, think about respiration and breathing, which is so important to understand how that system works, especially with this COVID virus. That is a respiratory virus. So we're going to go over some different types of respiratory systems out there and compare those to yours. Number 7, know how the functions of these organs in the digestive system work. So these are things that help you digest food. Esophagus, your stomach, your liver, pancreas, large and small intestine, and your gallbladder. So we'll go through all those and make sure that you know all those bodily organs. And when we're done with that, we'll do a unit on ecology at the end of the year. So that's kind of where we're going. Let's move to slide number 2. If you haven't opened this up yet, go to Classroom and open up the notes and make sure that you have a copy for yourself. And then we're going to go on to symmetry. And with symmetry, there are 3 types that we're going to be concerned with. On slide 2 here, These are those three types. They're called asymmetrical, radial, and bilateral. And over on the right-hand side, there's a few different diagrams that give you asymmetry, bilateral symmetry, and radial symmetry. And I want you to take a moment. You can press pause and go ahead and try and match up the butterfly, the Pepsi symbol, and the car wheel to those different words based on their type of symmetry. So go ahead and pause now and try that. Welcome back. I'll walk you through here. Asymmetrical means there is no symmetry. Anytime you prefix something with the letter A, it means not or non. So that one is the Pepsi symbol. There is no way that you can divide this through a diameter or through a center point and get one side looking like the other. It is asymmetrical. This thing has no symmetry. Now, radial, you can think of a radius. So that means there should be a center point and multiple lines of symmetry coming out from that center point, and this would be the wheel. If you took that center point, you could divide it up and down. You could divide it side to side. You could divide it diagonally. You could divide it diagonally this way. And a lot of times radial symmetry can vary depending on like how many arms an individual has. So you can think of like a lot of sea stars have pentaradial symmetry. So that's 5 types of radial symmetry. But if the sun star or sea star has more than 5 arms, it might have more than pentaradial symmetry. So we're just going to group those into radial, and they're kind of circular in body shape. And then the last type is called bilateral. And bilateral symmetry is if you can split it in one direction. So this is from top to bottom. The right looks like the left. This is your symmetry. Your right looks like your left. It's kind of a mirror image. Your right side looks like your left side. Now, inside of your body, this may change, but on the outside, you know what? You have 5 toes on your right foot. You probably got 5 toes on your left foot, and they're a mirror image of each other. Okay, you can split yourself from top to bottom, and you have a right and a left side. So these are the animals that you're mostly familiar with, things like bugs, things like fish, things like mammals, reptiles, amphibians, stuff like that. But there are a lot of other animals out there that do not have bilateral symmetry. All right. So those are the 3 body plans of our different animals that we're going to talk about. Let's go into slide number 3, which is a starred one. And this is something that all animals try and do. And it's super important for all living things. And that's maintaining something called homeostasis. And the root word here is homo. Stasis has another meaning. So when you put them together, they mean something entirely. I want you to think about that for a second. You could pause it if you want. And now that you're back, let's think about the word homo here. Homo means the same, and stasis means to maintain. So we're maintaining the same. So homeostasis is maintaining the same thing. And when we refer to that in the human body or in other animals' bodies, it's the maintenance of a stable internal environment. This makes your inside different than the outside. And so you could look at the examples I have down here at the bottom, H2O. We maintain water in our bodies, and that is different than outside. So right now in my body, I'm probably like 80% water, and around me in my room, it's very low. I bet the humidity in my room right now is about 20%. So I have a whole lot more water inside of my body than there is in the air around me, and I maintain that. And if I get thirsty, that's a signal from my body to my brain telling my brain that I should probably have some more water. So I would drink some more and add some to me. We also, as human beings, maintain a temperature, 98.6 to 98.8 degrees. And that is a stable temperature inside of your body. If you have a fever, you're not maintaining that safe, stable temperature. You're actually raising your core temperature, your body temperature up to try and kill something off. And that could be something like a virus or a bacteria. We raise the temperature up so those proteins in our bodies can't act normally. And it affects us, and you can kill yourself with your own fever, but we're hoping that we kill off the virus or bacteria by raising the temperature too high. And they actually won't work right, and they die. We maintain things like salt content in our bodies. So if you go out on a hot day and you sweat a whole lot, you might notice you taste salt in your sweat. You replenish that by eating that salt. You may crave salty foods later on. after you do a hard workout. If you guys can kind of reflect on what it is that you keep the same in your bodies, but those are just 3 examples. We keep a whole lot of things the same in our bodies. We maintain homeostasis in a whole lot of different ways. Can you think right now, take a second, reflect on any other things that you may keep stable in your body other than water and temperature and salt? What came to my mind was like sugar, blood sugar, for instance. You learned about bacteria making insulin for people with diabetes, and blood sugar, the amount of sugar in the blood is heavily regulated. You want to make sure that it maintains a certain amount. You could also think of oxygen in the blood too. Our cells need a certain amount of oxygen all the time, and so we try and maintain that through breathing. So there's a whole lot more, guys, and you may have came up with other ones, but those are just some examples. All right, the next slide is the last one that we're going to talk about today, and then we'll be done. Slide number 4 here is the different tissue, organ, and organ systems. A couple words that I ask you guys to know from your goals on slide number 1. So a tissue is not what you're blowing your nose with. It's not a Kleenex. A tissue is a group of very similar cells and they work together, okay? So you can think of different tissues like muscle tissue or skin tissue. We call that epithelial tissue. You could think of adipose tissue, that's fat cells. They work to store energy for the body in the form of fat, and then we convert that fat into sugar, which can be used by the cells as energy. There's nervous tissue, which we'll talk about. There's just connective tissue. These are things like blood vessels and just stuff that holds muscles to bones. There are a lot of different tissues working together inside your body. Now, once you combine a few different tissues and get them all working together, you actually have something called an organ. So the skin of your body is actually the largest organ on your body. It consists of some muscle tissue. It consists of a lot of connective tissue, some fat tissue, nervous tissue as well. So it's made of many different types of cells working together, and they do the job of keeping your outside separate from your inside. So we'd call your skin an organ. Your bones are an organ. Your heart is an organ, obviously. Your stomach. You can probably think of some other ones. But anything that has multiple tissues working together is called an organ. And if you take a few of these organs and connect them together and get them working as a group, we get something called an organ system. So a group of organs working together. You could think of your muscles as an organ with nervous tissue in them, connective tissue in the form of blood, and also muscle tissue, pulling on your bones, which are a different organ, and they are a system that works together to help you move and walk around. Once you have a whole lot of organ systems all working together, you actually get an organism, and that is a living thing, like you. You're an organism. So all the words kind of relate to each other. We go from a tissue, basic bunch of cells working together, organ system, and then now a whole living thing, an organism. Okay, so those are all the basic terms that you're going to kind of need for this unit, and then I'll walk you through. The body systems that we're going to focus on are respiratory. You can think of your lungs, breathing. Circulatory, you can think of your heart and your blood circulating through your body. Digestive system, think about how you digest food. And your nervous system, which is how you think and send electrical messages throughout your body. And we're going to start with the nervous system tomorrow. That's going to be the first main one that we'll start with. All right, guys, take it easy. Be safe. Have a good rest of your Monday.